Hi everyone, my name is Stephen Redman and welcome to another episode of Pastor's Library, the channel where we discuss everything to do with theology books that might be on a reading list for a seminary course, for a bachelor's or master's degree in biblical theology or in biblical studies, or simply just books that have caught your eye on your pastor's office shelf or indeed on the bookshelf of a Christian bookstore. Whatever it is, we hope to give you some advice, certainly my own personal views. I hope that it will help you. If it does help you, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps the algorithm, and it also helps us to get the message to you if you will subscribe and click on the bell. The bell will make sure you get notified of our next release. And today I want us to talk about my favourite commentaries on the book of Daniel. Daniel is a really key Old Testament book to my mind. Two things leap out of it at me. One, Daniel's use of the phrase Son of Man that Jesus adopts as his own. And that, to my mind, means we need to study Daniel. You open Mark's Gospel, Son of Man leaps out at you, you ought to read Daniel to see what it all means. Also, I would hardly suggest that anyone can fully understand the book of Revelation without having the book of Daniel in front of them. So it's a critical book and one that there have been some very good commentaries written on. Also, a few that are lacking really, and some that barely worth mentioning. I've got quite a few, so I'm going to mention quite a few. And what I'm not going to do really is end up with a clear first, second and third in this, because I think it's a little bit more complicated than just saying that. So, to start with, I want to introduce you to a couple of books that would help you with commentaries. One is John Goldingay's Word Biblical Themes on Daniel. This is not a very big book. It's simply about 120 pages and it was published in 1989. And it gives you just an essence of where Daniel's going, the sort of things to look for when you read Daniel, and an idea of the themes, a little bit of the theology of the book. So it's a worthwhile book. It doesn't cost very much, and particularly if you manage to pick one up used, but it's a worthwhile asset. This one, it was a little bit rarer. This is Daniel with an Introduction to Apocalyptic Literature by John J. Collins. And this is volume 20 of the Forms of Old Testament Literature, which is a series. Now, I have to say to you, this is a book written in 1984, it's 120 pages. I have to say that I have got so much out of this over the years, and it really does offer a lot of insight into the genre of the book. It gives you connections with Revelation. It gives you a good, clear, helpful bibliography, even though it only goes back to 1984. But again, if you saw that cheap, it's worth a look at. It will really help you with chapters 7 onwards. I commend that to you. But now, to get on to the commentaries. Well, these first three are maybe not such a big deal. This one by Joyce Baldwin is the Tyndale Old Testament commentary on Daniel, and it's worthwhile. If you're looking for a low-cost, entry-level commentary, you shouldn't ignore it. It has something to offer. It's like most of the Tyndale ones. It's got fairly decent authors, but it's not too academic, not too in-depth. At 132 pages, it's obviously not got some of the detail of other commentaries, but it really does have something to offer. And my version is a 2009 reprint, so it's still quotable. Interpretation, as you'll know, is not one of my favourite series. But this by W. Sibley Towner has something to offer. It's a 1984 book again. I don't know, see, people were writing about Daniel in 1984. I wonder if that means anything. Anyway, it's 186 pages. If you've got something newer or more academic, you could probably miss this one out. But I can't say it didn't help me. I remember quoting from it in one essay for somebody, so it's a worthwhile commentary. This one is the Focus on the Bible commentary. Now, I'm never a fan of Focus on the Bible commentaries, but this one's written by Bob File, and I'm quite a fan of Bob File. It's subtitled The Tale of Two Cities, and as you will see from the number of flags I've got in here, I have quoted from this on a number of occasions, although I think this was more for a series I did. But it really is a worthwhile little book. Unfortunately, this is getting old too, whereas it was reprinted in 2006. I think the original is 1998 and it's 207 pages. So, not to be dismissed. Again, if it's something you saw, low cost, used, it's got to be a good buy. Now to get on to those little bit more serious, more academic commentaries. The New Interpreter's Bible, which is one that I always like because these are big heavy volumes with multiple books covered in each one. And this one, which is volume 7, has an introduction to apocalyptic literature, which is useful for us. Then it has Daniel, and then it has the 12 prophets. So there's a lot in here. 175 pages devoted to Daniel, published in 1996, written by amazingly by another Daniel Smith Christopher. And I have to say, I thought this was a good commentary. It's helped me over the years, and it definitely has something to offer, as well as being a book that is big enough to wedge your door open with. Now, to get on to those that are slightly newer, slightly more up to date, Wendy Widder is a theologian that's come to light in more recent years and has been very, very popular. She's written a number of very good things, be it journal articles or books. And this one is her contribution to the Story of God commentary, which is a very modern, good quality commentary. It offers this view of having an overarching view of the whole of Scripture and how everything fits together. This was published in 2016, so it's still very, very recent. And it has 260 odd pages, and at that I do believe it's good value, good solid hardback. You can keep it open at the page fairly easily, and I would suggest to you it has a lot to offer. I'm not saying this is the bottom end of commentaries, but what I would say is it probably isn't the easiest to find your way around bibliography, and it does have more footnotes than some of the rest of the series. But I do like this. But what I'm really going to recommend to you is another commentary by Wendy Widder, and we'll come to that. Now, the New American commentaries are being phased out in favour of the Christian Standard commentaries, which means that instead of being based on the NIV, they're based on the Holman Christian Standard Bible. And this one is by Stephen R. Miller, and it's about to be replaced, I understand, or at least upgraded. I'm not quite sure which. It's published in 1994, so it's 30 years old, and it's therefore just hanging around the bottom end of the quotable things for university essays. But at 352 pages, in a good hardback, which if you bought it new comes with a nice sleeve, I would suggest this still has something to offer. I think Stephen Miller really did a good job on Daniel's commentary, and I think whether you are looking at the court stories, whether you're looking at the lion's den, or whether you're moving into the apocalyptic visions, I think he handles both very well. And I would suggest to you this is a good commentary. It's also one which, as it's still available, is not too expensive. It's on the bottom end, I would say, of pricing. And what I would say is you do, though, need to be in mind that perhaps there's a new revision about to come out, or it may be about to be replaced, because ultimately at 30 years old, they've got to be looking at doing that fairly sharply. Now, this one by Tremper Longman III is the NIVAC commentary on Daniel. It's published in 1999. It has 312 pages. It's a good solid hardback, although I believe that these are now available in paperback. Now, again, this is one that I have quoted from on a number of occasions, as you can see by some of the markers I've left in here. I have to be honest and say I find it's very difficult to ignore anything written by Tremper Longman III. He's a very profound theologian, has written well. If you see a commentary with his name on it, I would have a look, because he is a very good thinker. Whereas the NIVACs are much more about applications. And one has to say, looking back at a book like Daniel, trying to find applications in it is probably a little bit harder than it is in some of the books. But I do think he does a good job of this. And whereas, again, this is getting a bit older, this is one of those rare things. It's a commentary that's recommended on the back by Billy Graham. So you probably can't go too far wrong with that. All of those I am very fond of and really like. Something that's fairly new to my library was published in 2020. It's got 803 pages. And this is the Evangelical Exegetical commentary on Daniel by J. Paul Tanner. Now, I don't know, some of you will be watching this in America and you may not be aware that evangelical means a little bit different meaning in the UK to what it means in the USA. We have an Evangelical Alliance, which as a minister and as a local church leader, I have a membership as a church leader, as a membership as an individual. And the Evangelical Alliance is a great thing in the UK. But I think over the years, the word evangelical has changed its meaning in the USA. And we often get questions, oh, you're an evangelical. That means you have conservative politics and various other things that you can imagine might be thrust our way. And also, evangelical in the UK has tended to become a slang expression that means to have a reformed viewpoint, perhaps, or to even have a cessationist viewpoint of your theology. Now, I have to say that has slightly put me off engaging with the Evangelical Exegetical Commentaries, because I'm not really sure what the evangelical means in the title. And you might say, if you're from America, you might say, don't know what you're on about. But here in the UK, it is currently a thing as to what evangelical means. When people say to me, what sort of church are you part of? I say an evangelical, charismatic, Pentecostal church, because those three things are connected to me that make a one uniform idea, but they mean very different things to the hearer. And so I suppose what I'm saying to you is actually, I quite like this commentary. It comes now with a white hardback front in a very pleasant slipcover. It has a bibliography at the end of each chapter, which I have to say I am not a huge fan of that. I prefer to have it all in one place, but it's a very good bibliography. I haven't read this cover to cover, but I've dipped in at various key points, and I think Tanner raises some good points. He doesn't come over like he's unusual in his theology, and so I quite like this. It's certainly a juicy book, 803 pages, that's a big book. And it's got to be, therefore, one of the most detailed commentaries out there. I haven't read enough of this to really sort of put it further up the list. But I would say if you get a copy of this, or if you have a copy of this, I'd love to know your feedback. But I think it's worthwhile. The New Beacon Bible Commentary, if you watched any of my videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of these commentaries. They're all paperback. This one, because it's one of the commentaries on the prophets, has an orange spine. It's academic. It's not overly technical. The layout is beautiful. I think this is really, really good commentary. When I did a series on Daniel at church a couple of years ago, I quoted from this a lot, and I really, really, really like this. I'm not trying to say to you this is better than the Evangelical Exegetical commentary. What I'm saying to you is, I like this one. I really like this one. And I have proven it in use over a number of years. This is a 2009 publication, 288 pages, plenty of commentary, plenty of detail. I don't think you would be disappointed with this by Jim Eldin. I thoroughly commend this to you. So that's the New Beacon Bible Commentary. At the other end of the spectrum is the Hermeneia commentary by Collins on Daniel. This was published in 1993, so at the time of videoing this is 31 years old. 499 pages, typical layout design for Hermeneia. This is a technical commentary. It's got little bits of Hebrew on most pages, but this is accessible. It's not the sort of commentary that you want to dip into just before you go to sleep at night, because it will either keep you awake or it will send you off immediately. But this, I have to say, is one I always consult. I really like Collins. I think he has a lot to offer, and I think this series in general are good. Some of them are less good, but I do think this is a quality commentary. Unfortunately, can be expensive if you're trying to get hold of one. Fortress Press, but a very, very, very good technical commentary. I'm getting near the end, which some of you will be saying, that's a relief. This is the Apollos commentary by Ernest Lucas, and it was published in 2002. It's 359 pages. I think Lucas has a lot to say. Like all the Apollos commentaries, this is brilliant white paper, good black font, easy to read, easy to find accessible. It's not got a lot of things to break the text up, but the text is good quality, and I think you will find this helpful to your study. I suppose what I would say is this one in particular, I would definitely rate it when you're doing essays, when you're doing a serious study for certification of some sort. Apollos give us a very good quality result. Now, I'm down to my top two, and I told you that I would mention Wendy Widder again. This is the Zondervan Exegetical commentary on the Old Testament, the volume on Daniel. This is published in 2023, so I've only had it for a few months. I love this commentary. I think Wendy Widder has something really brilliant to add. In its 575 pages, it's clear, it's accessible, it's got the use of tables, it's got inserts, it's got text sections highlighted in grey, as well as the main text in white. I think this is a brilliant piece of academic work. Everything that can be broken down into a table is there as a table. Everything that Widder wants us to access simply and accessibly is there. And I really do like this book. These are good hardbacks, they're solid, they're accessible, they're really, really good range. And I commend this one to you. 575 pages, 2023. This is going to be in your library for a number of years, and for the next 29 years it's quotable. So I would go for it. I really do like this. I really do like this. Now, I am left with John Goldingay. And John Goldingay is someone that I love and that I don't love so much. John Goldingay can be very Calvinist in his thinking of God, but you cannot take away from him that he has had the most significant input to Daniel studies for 30 years. I have the original version of this commentary, but this one is the revised version. I think the original one was 1988 or something like that. Can't just remember exactly, but this one was published in 2019, and it's about 100 pages more than the original one at 624 pages. Now, what does Goldingay offer us? He offers us a technical quality commentary. Because this is one of the more recent ones, it's not as guilty as being poorly designed in its layout. And by layout, I am referring to what you see on the page. These commentaries in the past, before they were acquired by Zondervan, were yellowing paper and not always very black text. They were difficult to read in the dark, in the end of the day when it was getting dark. I always found I needed, I still do find I need a good light on when I'm reading them. But this is better. I think the next wave that are going to come out are significantly better. That's evidenced by the recent launch of 1 and 2 Thessalonians, which is a huge step forward for the series. But this is a hardback. Unlike some of the earlier ones, this doesn't have a slipcover, but it is a very high quality piece of work. Now look, what I'm saying to you is whatever you think of Goldingay, this is a quality piece of work. When you read this, you may just find little snippets that you don't quite agree with his overarching theology. But actually, I feel I can sidestep all of that. And I really get so much from this book, as indeed I did get from his previous original version. But this revised version is a significant upgrade. There is a significant amount of more information in here, more detail, and I really do think this is a class act to follow. So Wendy Widder, similar amount of pages, maybe 75 pages less, and the layout is still better for Wendy Widder. But ultimately, I don't think I would like to be without this. I think ultimately Goldingay still has his mark on Daniel studies. And for the Word Biblical Commentary to launch this in 2019 as a revised version means that this is going to stay at the top of our lists for Bible studies for another 25 plus years. So I really do commend this one to you. Now, we've gone through the large amount of my commentaries on Daniel, and I hope that has helped you. If it has, please remember to give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because we're verging on the 1,000 figure for subscribers, and it would really help the channel if we could add you to our list, and it will mean that the channel becomes more visible on YouTube for other people who are wanting to watch it. And if you'd like to help me with that, then please subscribe. It costs you nothing. And I hope that my preferences and my personal favourites for the commentaries on Daniel that I have shown to you today, I hope it will help you. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the notes below, And until next time, all I've got to say to you is bye.